skipped barely by this year, and we know it's going to come back and take a tremendous fiscal toll on this county. I cannot justify spending 100 hours of staff time on mosquito larvae. I'm having a real hard time with that concept. What's listed in this report, we had in that process, 2 questions and 1 alternative were proposed and 2 letters were received. I'm wondering if we're getting the bang for our buck. The mindset's great, and again, I don't question the mindset, but to be put into process procedures that cost this county staff time and resources that we simply don't have is something I cannot continue to support. The examples that are in the staff report from public health, the Every 15 Minutes program, the Needles Exchange program, and I guess that was it, as examples of the precautionary principle, I can take exception to that. Those aren't examples of precautionary principle. 15 Minutes program has been along a long time, and I am a wholehearted supporter of that program. It is a great program. I don't see the link between that and what I see here is the precautionary principle. That's a stretch for me in the staff report. The recommendations, the 5 or 6 bullets here, develop a process where our Health and Human Services Information and Communications Officer spends her time or his time, whichever the case may be, on this, I think is not the wise use of resources. We need a PIO in this county in the CEO's office. And if we need to, if the Health and Human Services PIO has extra time, I know where we can use it. Dealing with precautionary principle is not a place to do it. I cannot support the recommendations in this program. I know this isn't up for action today other than accept the report, which is unfortunate because I thought that issues like this were going to come back with the opportunity for action, so I'm a little disappointed in that. But even with what's being proposed, again, the mindset is great. I fully support the mindset of do the least harm, and I don't question anybody agreeing to that, but I do have a concern with devoting more staff resources and time to something that when we just simply don't have those resources available. I'm off my soapbox, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thanks, Supervisor. Supervisor Smith?
Thanks, Supervisor Pinches.
He's deferred to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I want to thank HHSA for their presentation and Mr. Kaler from the Executive Office for the work on this. I was on the original standing committee that worked on this, and we had quite a bit of public input and significant public input that spanned, I don't know, I think almost a year in order to get a resolution to the board. We had visits from the city and county of San Francisco. We had a speaker from out of the region address the group, and there were some community presentations. So I think with limited resources, we've done a pretty good job. I have a concern that I think that might be along the lines of Supervisor Delbar, but perhaps going in a different direction, and that is that perhaps the concept is really being overworked. And I would like to see it become institutionalized without maybe as much effort that has gone into it. A fair amount of effort from the presentation, and again, thank you to those that did it, and I think it was a good one. I don't know why we need to sort of spend so much time thinking it and reworking it. I just want to read here, and to me these two aspects are really not acceptable, and I think that if we were building it in with executive leadership into the organization, we wouldn't need to go down this sort of divisive path about who is doing it and who's affected, and I think we're really making too much out of it. I think that we need to institutionalize the major concepts with all due speed, and that would be on things like purchasing. There are some things that I think we can get clear language from other entities and just go forward and do it. So it says here in this, the changes that have affected the implementation, the water agency staff has become deeply involved in the ongoing county water issues that have become a priority for the Board of Supervisors, which caused them to withdraw as the secondary precautionary principle pilot. An inquiry to General Services about becoming the second precautionary principle pilot was not accepted, as General Services is already working on greening county purchasing and the resources to perform a pilot were not available. To me, there's a disconnect from the concept and how you get that going in the organization. To me, both of those, for different reasons, are just not an acceptable way to get this process that was adopted by the Board of Supervisors institutionalized. I mean, if you're working on greening county purchasing, then you're working on one aspect and only one aspect of the precautionary principle. So how do we cut through this bureaucratic approach and really get this into the fabric of county government? And that was truly the direction of the Board of Supervisors, not all of these pilot projects and tangents that take so long to get us to where we need to go. I mean, we've been talking about this now for 2 years. I think it should already be, or 2 years is long enough, to have it fully integrated into the fiber of the departments. So that's where I want to see it go, and I think that next year it needs to come back to the Standing Committee of the Board of Supervisors to really go in that direction. So that would be my thought on it. Thank you. But I'm willing to go with Supervisor Colfax's recommendation, which is accepting the report and very modest suggestions. And I do really like the one that I think it addresses the mission statement, that we integrate the language into our mission statement. And I think that that's a very small thing that we can do that should be a guiding principle of the organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Pinches?
I pretty much agree with Supervisor Smith on this. It should be basically in general through all departments, but there's a couple things that really concerns me. One is where it says